Alright guys, so last time we talked about finding the x and y intercepts so we could graph. Now we're going to talk about like the certain forms of equations they're going to give you and how to graph those. So we usually graph this with a calculator, but we're not going to do that this year. It's just kind of hard to do. If you know how to do it, awesome. Otherwise, we're just going to solve it and go from there. So the slope between 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2 is given by y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, aka rise over run. And we've done this before. I know we wrote it down on the notes before, but it's just a nice review. Big thing is rise over run. So on the provided graph the following linear equations using different colored pencils. Show your algebra as needed. You may use a graphing calculator. The big thing is I'm trying to show you what the Hawks is going to give you and how you would graph it. So they'll give you an equation like this, and this one's pretty easy to graph in the beginning because you have your y-intercept, which is my starting point. So I go on the y-axis, I go down 2. And then I'm going to use my slope, -1 over 3. I'm going to tell you right now, use the rise over run to go up or down, and then always go right. So this one's going to be down 1, right 3. So I'm going to go down 1, right 3 from my y-intercept and plot a point. I could also do the opposite and go up 1, left 3. That would give you the same thing. So now I'm going to graph this one. Try my best to draw a straight line. And then it says solve for x equals 3. This is what they're going to do on the Hawks. Really all you're doing, guys, is you're just plugging in 3 for the x and you're solving. So I'm going to say y equals -1/3 times 3 minus 2. When I do that, I get -1 minus 2, which is -3. If you look at your points, 3, -3 is a coordinate, so it should work out. All right. Next one is a special kind of line. Y equals 2. That's a horizontal line. And you need to know the difference on these. So y equals 2 is a horizontal line. So I'm going to go up 2 on the y-axis and then draw a horizontal line there. Slope of a horizontal line is always 0. Okay. Next one's another special case. X equals 3 is a vertical line. All right, so I'm going to go to 3 and draw a vertical line on the x-axis. Well, 3 on the x-axis and then draw a vertical line from there. Slope would be undefined always. We have an undefined slope, always on a vertical line. Okay? Next example would be something that's written in standard form. There's a couple different ways to graph it. You can plug in 0 for the x and the y and solve for the intercepts. So I would get x equals -2 and y equals -2. Or you can convert it to slope-intercept form by subtracting the x. So I would get -x minus 2. Completely up to you. But if you do it with the intercepts, -2, -2, that's what you're going to get. And then you're going to graph it just like you normally would. Okay, this one, again, in standard form. There's some shortcuts if you scroll down to the bottom, or not scroll, but look at your notes at the bottom. So standard form, the shortcut for slope is -a over b. And standard form is written as ax plus by equals c. So in our case, a is 4, b is -2, and c is 8. So our slope is going to be -4 over -2, which is a positive 2. So that's our slope. Our y-intercept is going to be, shortcut here, is c over b, which would be 8 over -2, which would be -4. So I could start at -4, and I can go up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, and so on. And that would be that line. Last one. This is written in point slope form. In point slope form, our slope is right here. And the easiest way to graph this is to use the coordinates to make a point. So this is with the x, so I use the opposite side of the 1, so I use a -1. And this is with the y, so I use the opposite side of that, which is a +2 to graph it. So I would go to -1, 2, which is up here. And then I would go down 3, right 4, down 3, right 4, and so on. Until you got your line. And that's what it's going to look like. With these, yes, we're going to graph, and yes, you have to graph on the homework. It's on the Certify. But just make sure you know which form it's in, and I'll give you some examples of that. So, slope-intercept form looks like this, y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Point-slope form, these right here are the coordinates of the point, and m is still your slope. And then in standard form, ax plus by equals c. I give you some shortcuts for your slope, your y-intercept, and your x-intercept. The ones that are the most confusing for people most of the time are the horizontal lines. Y equals -2, y equals 5. Anything that just says y equals a number is a horizontal line. Same way with a vertical line. It's x equals 3, x equals -5, whatever it is, as long as x equals a number. So then it says some examples like this, and I'm going to help you on these. So find the equation of a line in slope-intercept form from its description. So this one, they give us a slope and a point. So I'm going to use point-slope form. So I'm going to say y plus 5, I use the opposite sign, equals 4 times x minus 1. I would distribute to get 4x minus 4, y plus 5, and then I'm going to subtract 5 to get y equals 4x minus 9. And that's in slope-intercept form. So I write it in point-slope form first, and then I convert to slope-intercept form. This next one is written like this. If I wanted to write it in slope-intercept form, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the 24 and subtract the 4x to give you 4y equals -4x minus 24. And then I'm going to divide everything by 4 to get y equals -x minus 6. Again, here's shortcut. Your slope is -a over b. I subtract the 24, it'd be in standard form, and y-intercept is c over b. Next one, if I give you a slope and a point, that's what we just did. But this one, the slope is 0. So the slope is 0, that means it's automatically a horizontal line. If you remember, horizontal is y equals, so I don't care about the x coordinate, I just care about the y, and I would say y equals -3, and that's it. Same way here, if the slope is undefined, you should automatically know that's a vertical line. And I want to go through the x value now. I don't care about the y value, and that's your equation. Sometimes they'll give you enough information I don't have to do any work. So I could do point-slope form on this. However, this right here is the coordinates of the y-intercept. Remember, if your x value is 0, then whatever comes next is the y-intercept. So this would be y equals -1/2 x minus 6. And then lastly, it says write x minus 2 equals 0 in standard form. All you're doing is adding the 2 over. That's in standard form. Now it says solve for y equals 3 and y equals -5. Guys, it does not matter what I plug in for y. I automatically know that x is always going to be 2. So the answer to this one would be 2. The answer to this one would be 2. It does not matter because you know that your x is always 2. All right, and that's how it's going to work whenever you graph it, because that's a vertical line. All right. Last example, I'm going to scroll to the top right here and give you some blank space. If I give you 2 points, okay, you should be able to find the slope. So I did y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I found my slope, and then I used point-slope form. It does not matter which point you use. I used this one. And now I would distribute and solve it. So y equals, this would be 6/7 x minus 12/7. That's just an example. because I know that shows up on the Hawks. All right, so that's it for today's lesson. The certify is 2.3. If you guys have any questions over it, please send me an email. But you have to get these done. Stay on top of this. Right now, you should have 2.1 and 2.3 done after today. If you have any questions, please let me know.